Welcome to manual breathing.
You know, I'm Kaegan,
I'm Calum.
and this is Jay. He's
Hey.
throwing the guitar through for a loop. I don't know, but we're gonna remind you that you need to start breathing manually now.
Keep those eyes blinking. Keep that tongue in the right spot.
You know, it might be a little annoying, but we have the solution for what ails you. You need to distract yourself with 3 idiots who don't know what they're talking about.
And some lovely guitar.
And we're just gonna be spinning our gears for the next however long. So let's get started.
Beautiful.
That was dope. Alright. So anyway, we're gonna talk about. I'll be honest with you. It seems like 3 downer topics.
A little bit.
But you know, it's important, and I think it's.
We're about educating the people, you know?
Exactly.
We're for the people.
I'm gonna start off, and I don't want to start off too serious, but this is a serious thing, and it's something that, you know, I'm almost sad to educate you on.
Is it the voodoo curse on your family that you still haven't told the audience about?
No, it's not that. I don't even know why you'd bring that up. But
Oh.
anyway, so on a more serious note, I want to inform you about something that affects your everyday life, something that you don't really think about. The government is not a great topic that we want to talk about all the time. You know, I'm not super political, but it just puts people on edge. But this is the truth, and I'm going to do my part to spread as much of the truth as possible.
But I'm the woke one.
You are the woke one, but...
Wow, we're gonna really come off anti-American today because his story
Speaking
followed
of-
by mine.
Speaking of anti-American,
Bad
guys-
segue.
you guys, you're being watched every day.
Snowden? Is that you?
Every day.
Yeah.
In your, in private moments, public moments, you're being watched.
You better not be talking.
And you know
about-
what? It's in a way that you would never even imagine. Alright? This is in the background of your life. You don't put any thought on it. Guys, birds aren't real.
Oh, no.
This is serious, alright?
I thought you were gonna get into some NSA.
It is,
It's
alright?
deeper than.
It's this goes so deep. I can't even. Some of you might be confused. You know, I sit here and I say birds aren't real, and you're like, but I've seen birds. What are you talking about, Kaegan? Well, guess what? Those birds. You know, we'll get into this. All right,
There's
we'll get
one
into
outside
this.
the window right now.
There's one outside every window in America.
Incredible.
This is the power that they have over you. The truth is, birds have been, over the course of 3-ish decades, maybe 4 now, have been replaced by the government with surveillance drones. Super advanced. They look like birds. Every bird you've seen in your life. It's a drone. And I know you're thinking right now, Kaegan, no, I'm positive that I've seen birds. Look, you've been positive about a lot of things. They were positive that the sun revolved around the earth. Alright? They were positive that the earth was flat. And you, a few moments ago, were positive that you didn't have to worry about the birds that are always watching.
As a kid, I was positive I could make it down the quarter pipe. Didn't make it down the quarter pipe.
Okay, well... yeah, his athleticism is known. Alright, I'm going to start from the beginning.
I already have several rebuttals.
They're lined.
You know
up,
what?
ready to
What
go.
are your rebuttals?
Don't you think, and I don't want to overgeneralize here,
Go ahead.
but you know, in the South,
Uh-huh.
they have guns. They
Yeah.
like their guns.
Uh-huh.
For those of you.
Go ahead.
Don't you think that even just for fun, that they would maybe shoot some of these birds down and maybe go take a look at the body, at the carcass?
Yeah.
I've heard that duck hunting is a sport.
Yep. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're about to get into this, you guys. This all started when the CIA was created, alright?
Okay.
CIA, we all know it was because...
When was that?
1978.
Good man. Did the research.
Yeah, definitely didn't pull that out of my butt. So, Was I right? Do you know?
No.
Ah, crap! I could have just stayed confident. But anyway, so in 1978, when the CIA was created, honestly, it was because of communism. All right, it's the Red Scare. They wanted to know who was on the right side in air quotes, because I mean, come on now.
This is segueing way too hard into my topic later. Very uncomfortable.
We got that through line ready to go. Started with the CIA. They had to track and find potential communists in the American public. A good way to do this, they found, was mainly that of surveillance. All right? They put CCTV cameras in places. It made it a lot easier to track people. But you know what? Alan Dulles. Oh, to even
Sounds
say
dreamy.
his name. Yeah, he's just a bad man. So Alan Dulles, the first civilian director of the CIA, by the way, he saw the potential in cameras. All right? He took this to President Eisenhower and said, one camera in the sky can do the work of 10 cameras that are just fixed and pointed at one spot, all right? It would save so much time and energy. You could just track one person
As an electrical
through the skies.
engineer, I confirmed that.
Eisenhower was pretty much just like, give me a plan. Give me what you plan to do. What is your solution to these cameras in the sky that you're talking about?
Yeah.
And that's when Mr. Dulles, I'm going to call him Alan for the rest of this probably.
You guys are tight. You guys are close like that.
Well, look, I don't know if that's exactly how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not gonna say anything else. So anyway, Alan, because I know how to pronounce that one. He went back to his inner circle. All right, he wanted a plan, and he took a weekend, and he was like, guys, we need to figure out how to do this. How are we gonna put cameras in the sky that are also hidden? And this is so hard to talk about.
You're so passionate.
That's when they decided that they were going to get rid of birds. All right? And now you might think that's a big leap, Kaegan. Why would they get rid of birds?
There are so many birds.
There are so many birds. Oh my gosh.
You cannot get rid of every bird.
You're not even getting to... This isn't even the bad part yet, all right? Do you want to know why they targeted birds?
Why?
Oh, these monsters.
Did they call them stupid?
They hated birds with a passion.
Wow.
They called them flying slugs, the scum of the sky. And do you know why they hated them?
Sounds just like the CIA.
Do you know why they hated them?
What's that?
They were pooping on their cars too much.
Mm-hmm.
We've all had bird poop on our cars if we're lucky enough to have cars. And yeah, it sucks, alright?
Do you think there was a guy at the CIA who just, like, a dog crapped on his yard every day and was just, like, also at that table? He was like, yeah, but what about dogs? And just nobody else was on his side.
Yeah.
It just settled on birds just because less people had dog crap.
You think this is a joke, Caleb? Do you think this is a joke?
I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Do you think this is a
Dogs
joke?
would make great cameras. I should work for the CIA.
They might make great cameras, actually.
Yeah.
Who doesn't pet a dog?
Oh, we can get, like, your fingerprints, too? CIA? If you're hiring. I know you're listening, so...
Obviously. And by the way, this whole pooping on cars thing, you think it's a joke. For one, this is a great, it's a time in American history where people are, they're stoked to be American, all right? They're like, woo! And they're just throwing around, they're feeding birds left and right.
Woo.
Shut up. They're they're feeding all the birds. They're getting stuff to the brim and just releasing all over everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
I can understand why they would hate them, but that is no excuse for what follows.
Far.
You haven't even gotten to the part that's too far. You don't even understand. This goes so deep. I actually have from an ex-CIA deputy's stolen transcript proof that they did they hated birds for a real reason.
Okay.
Right? This is, quote, yeah, the higher-ups were so annoyed that birds had been dropping fecal matter on their windows that they vowed to wipe out every single flying feathered creature in North America.
Don't call them creature, call them flying slugs, please.
End quote.
I think I support their cause.
Okay, you alright over there?
Yeah, just hit the timeline. Shoot.
They decided they would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright?
You think they said that during the pitch meeting?
I
hope that was their slogan.
There's no way they didn't.
Just start a PowerPoint off 2 birds, 1 stone.
Shut up. This is This is so real, and you're just making light of it.
You
all right?
know damn well
This is
that was the
people's-
operation.
This
name.
is people. Oh, I'll show you the operation. So they hatched, quote unquote, the idea to replace birds with advanced surveillance drones, and they were to solve both problems. They were going to have eyes in the sky. They were going to get rid of the flying slugs.
Yeah.
And you may be wondering, Jay, my name's Jay. How did this happen, Kaegan? That's a lot of birds.
How did this happen, Kaegan? That is too many birds.
Thank you so much for asking, Jay. It all started after Alan was tasked with getting rid of the birds. By the way, by killing them. He gathered 23 men from Boeing. They were to create a new...
You mean Boeing with the with all the company with all the planes
Boeing with an E.
going down?
Topical. Anyway, so...
I'm sure they make great robotic birds.
So what they did is you guys are getting way ahead of yourselves. They were to create a new type of B-52 bomber.
Oh.
All right, this is going to be the B-52B. And they took the 23 men, busted them across America to where they were going to create these bombers. A place where they could do it in total secret, without anyone bothering them, and with an excuse to be secretive. They went to Area 51.
Of course.
Of course. Do you have a problem? What's the problem? Oh,
There's no problem.
oh, okay, that's good.
He's just looking at Mike Wazowski over there.
Mike Wazowski.
Spoilers.
Oh,
Spoilers.
Anyway,
It's
so,
research.
anyway,
Trying to find out about the birds, man. Not telling the story fast enough.
they were moved
Pigs.
across the country by bus.
The birds?
The 23 men keep up, Calum.
That would make more sense
So,
than a bus full of birds.
they, I don't think, got the memo about being real quiet on this, keeping this on the DL.
Yeah.
Because what they did is they were spotted moving a bunch of couches and beds inside this bus, and they were sticking something on the back that said Area 51 or bust sign on the back. And look, the guys total idiots, but you know what? Real patriots.
Yeah.
Because of their shenanigans, we now know the truth.
Good men. Top men.
Speaking of shenanigans, they were known to, for every time they filled up or something like that, they would kind of make a campsite. They would sing jingles and keep up, good camaraderie. Such as, I left my honey for Area 51. And, oh, this one's terrible. Let's kill all the birds. It's like you're not even trying to hide
Yeah, very
it, man.
uncreative name, frankly.
And you know what? You may be asking, why 23 men? And that question I can't answer, but only 22 men made it. Do you want to know what happened to the man that got lost?
What happened?
They purposely left him, Neil Ford, in a Waffle House bathroom because he, quote, oh, these monsters. He had to pee too many times and was ruining the vibe of the trip.
I can relate.
Can you?
Yeah.
You electrical engineers, all right?
Yeah. I'd
Honestly,
leave you in a Waffle House bathroom. You know what? Frankly, you don't even have to pee that many times. I'd still leave you in the Waffle
my name
House
isn't
bathroom.
Frank.
I have to pee often, if I'm being honest.
Really?
does.
Too often?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bladder thing. I just think I'm just hydrated.
Is Scrubs
That's good, man. Keep up the good health, but I'm leaving you in the Waffle House bathroom.
If Scrubs taught me one thing, it's that if you have to pee a lot and you're tired and some other things, you
You're
have
dying.
diabetes.
I'm always tired.
You have diabetes.
Diabetes, dude.
Check back next time.
Confirmed.
There's like some genuine concern in
I don't
his
think I-
eyes when he said that. He was just like,
Oh.
wait, but that good joke, Kaegan.
This is
Can't wait
serious.
to hear about the joke after the podcast,
This-
right? That it was all a joke.
The engineers were tasked with making the new model of the B-52. Sorry, I know what comes from this, and it's a little hard to talk
I get
about.
it. You're getting emotional. That's okay.
It's all right. It's just a little.
It's like a eulogy to the birds.
The modifications they made to these B-52s were instead of like places for bombs and things like that, they had 450-gallon water tanks, and they had advanced radar to track large flocks of bird from up to 200 miles away. They had layers of matte black paint on the bottom
Yeah.
because they were doing these atrocities at night, and they wanted a little bit of cover.
Facial tissue.
And the cherry on the top is that they had noise reduction. They had noise reduction pad on the engines, and nobody could know what they were doing.
Please don't touch me, Kaegan.
I'm so sorry. And now, they're loose ends at this point. All right, they've completed their project after a year. And after they completed it, they were sent home. And intercepted 30 minutes.
Oh my god.
30 minutes into the trip and sent to the front lines of the Vietnam War. Engineers, complete nerds, like Calum.
I wouldn't last a second.
Not even 2. These men lasted 3 weeks. Captured by the Viet Cong, if that's what the people were. And then they were never heard from again.
Oh no.
And now we get to the genocided birds. In Operation, quote, Water the Country, they put poison in the bombers that only affected birds. Any small amount of this poison that got on the birds, it would just seep in, get into the bloodstream, affect the bones, and the bird would completely dissolve.
Dude, you had me there. I was about to call you out. I was about to be like, Kaegan, how did they spread poison and all the water supplies and whatnot?
You think this is a joke?
But then you countered with the, it was bird poison.
It was
I'm
bird
a fool
poison.
for thinking otherwise.
It completely...
Just like rat poison doesn't hurt humans if you eat it.
Do you have a problem, Calum? If you would listen. So, caused total decomposition of the birds in 24 hours. And it would spread to other birds during that time. It completely dissipates before it hits the ground, as long as you are releasing it about 8,000 feet above the ground. So it's not getting to us, Calum. You thought you were smart and you thought, this is just some dumb thing. No, it's the truth, and I figured it out, all right?
Jay,
Speaking of which, I didn't figure this
help
out.
me.
What do you need help with? More answers? Don't worry, I got them.
I'm afraid.
While they did this, while they were killing billions of birds,
Yes.
they released the first prototypes. They released the bird prototypes so that no one would notice what was going on. Oh, just right under our noses.
Frankly,
My name isn't Frank!
Frank, calm down. I could go out and come home after a long day outside, and I think I would not be able to tell you if I had seen a bird or not that day. Yeah. So if they just disappeared one day, I think I could walk around for a good couple weeks and not realize that all the birds were gone.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But not everyone is as blind as you are, all right?
Well, people started suspecting it, you're saying then?
I'm saying that they didn't want people to suspect it.
But they did.
Some people, they are avid bird watchers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is when cell phones didn't exist. The internet was new and or nothing. I don't know when the internet was made. And look, everyone's bored. Everyone got into bird watching then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
What a better things do they have to do anyways?
There's a bird. I think I might have showed you guys the video.
There's a bird?
There's a bird I took a video of a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Bird in quotes.
Yeah. And
bird.
It made a sound. I was going to try to use this as sort of an argument against your thing.
Go ahead.
But the more I listen to it, which I'll play it over here, and maybe we'll post it on the social media.
I'd say post it on the social media for sure.
With a poll.
Is
this the sound a real bird, in quotes, would make?
Exactly.
Or is it a robot? Or a failing robot sound box?
Yeah, the failing speaker.
I'll try to play it right here.
Oh, that doesn't sound right. I don't like that. Oh, it's giving me chills.
Someone tell me what bird makes that sound.
By the end of this, you're not going to believe that the birds you see every day are flesh and blood.
Also, recently, when I went to Starbucks, I saw a foot-tall bird. A big old crow or something just sitting on top of a sign right there. I got maybe a foot away from it and just didn't move. It just looked at me the whole time.
Looks like they're watching you, man. You may be wondering, who knew about this? Who knew? I mean, we got the CIA's involved. Eisenhower knew, but it's been a few years. Is he even still in office? No, he's not. You want to know who is? President John F. Kennedy. Oof. True saint. You know what? I do too. Great man. The president didn't know what was going on. The CIA's gone rogue at this point, all right? They're keeping their own secrets. The president has no idea. Once Kennedy found out about the situation that was going on, the genocide, I will repeat over and over again until you realize that billions of birds have been killed. Innocent birds that didn't do anything except for what was natural. Everybody poops. Everybody. We just haven't made them toilets. Maybe you should have put all this effort into making them toilets to solve your problem.
I cannot get away from the fact that we're talking about this, and I'm going to be talking about an actual genocide in a few minutes.
Man, why you gotta do that right now, man? Jeez.
Yeah, why would I say that and act like yours isn't a real genocide?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, very rude of me
So
to
where are you guys at right now? Do you think the birds outside your window are real birds?
I'm starting to look at it with a skeptical eye.
Skeptical eye, Jay?
Birds are absolutely 100% real.
All right.
Oh my!
Just wait till the end.
The
wait
tension
till the end.
in the air you could cut with.
I don't know
a
if we
knife.
can continue this.
Yeah.
Wait till the end. All right. So, oh gosh, this is about to get dark. Okay. So anyway, once Kennedy found out, even after being shown the potential, quotes, of taking away our privacy with complete and total civilian surveillance, he was still against it because he's a good man. Sorry, he was a good man. And then 1 month later,
It's okay.
after he told them to shut down the project, there was no more Kennedy. And I'm not saying the two events are related. I'm going to let you guys figure that out on your own. Just kidding, no time. They were completely related. The CIA took out Kennedy. I don't know why you're laughing, Calum.
When some people are hit with such tragic news,
All
the
they
only
can
thing can do is laugh.
I understand. Don't
It's
worry.
the only reaction my
Don't
body
worry.
That's how I handled my grandpa.
can. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Oh, jeez.
Busted out laughing.
Oh, man.
Rest in peace to Mama Calum. Slapped the whole
Oh,
time.
my gosh.
You know what I usually do in those situations, Caitlin?
I just think of how much worse it could be. Like, it could be John F. Kennedy.
Oh my goodness.
I can't do this. So, now back onto a serious note.
Yeah.
Not that those weren't very serious. The CIA completely took over at that point. They only let presidential candidates who were willing to sacrifice privacies into the presidency. They've been in control this whole time.
Obama, no!
That's what my first thoughts. So you may be wondering about the actual drones. The CIA was doing a great job killing all the birds.
Yeah.
Fantastic job. Almost too good a job. They were killing faster than they could create replacements. They needed bauxite ore, which is used to create aluminum. Alright? And do you know how I said this goes really deep? That it's just rooted in American history? They needed more, and so they invaded Vietnam to get it, and used the guise of fighting communist threats, quotes. Sorry, I just keep doing that, and then I realize they can't see me. So anyway, they went into Vietnam. They went into Vietnam and decided that they were going to get the bauxite ore there. It's like the third largest bauxite ore, it's like you can get a lot of it. Look it up. Facts, Jay.
Fact check.
Go ahead, I'll wait. I'm not going to wait. Anyway, so they went in there and they moved, they just pushed the line back. They would mine everything. They would send it back to the U.S. completely just, under the radar. And as they did this, they had people making factories or missile... What is the thing that they were... Bunkers?
Yeah, missile bunkers.
Okay, so they were creating missile bunkers, which really is just a large space to create bird drones. All they wanted to do was create more birds because they needed to. And they decided that they were going to have to recruit workers, a bunch of workers, to create up to 100,000 birds per day. There was 22 bunkers by this time. They had people creating 5,000 birds in each bunker each day. It stacked up.
Man,
I see your phone.
Really gonna make a joke where I was like, "Oh, the bauxite is right next to adamantium." I'm sure, where they got. I'm sure they made Captain America's shield out of some of that. Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, it is real.
It's the main source of aluminum too. So.
Look at that.
Enjoy that.
Almost like this is all facts, Jay.
It's got you there. Your name is Jay.
They recruited workers for making the drones. And you may ask, that's a lot of drones. That must have required a lot of workers. How did the government keep this all under wrap? Is it under wrap or under wraps?
Definitely under wraps.
All right, it sounds better too. How did they keep this all under wraps?
Then why did you not start with that?
Why are you yelling at me? Good question.
Denial.
I know, this is hard. I understand.
It's hard news.
You got to figure out a lot about You know, honestly, there's people in Thailand who listen to this, so they don't care. But you figure out about the American system that you live in and what they're allowing to happen. And yeah, I can see how you get a little upset. Listener, don't worry, I understand. You may be asking why these people don't remember. Is they would recruit from nightclubs. They had all these pretty much, hippie drug people or whatever.
Yeah.
They would be like, hey, do you want to have the greatest acid trip of your life? And then they would put them in a worker's uniform, overalls or whatever, and they would give them a tab of acid, quotes.
Yeah.
And really, they would just give them this thing that dissolved on their tongue, take them down to create birds, and then they think they're tripping the whole time. Oh. They're coming out with stories like, yeah, the craziest trip I ever had was, I thought I was going into a government facility.
It's the most genius
Exactly. No one's going to believe them. If the people themselves don't even believe what's going on, who's going to believe, their crazy
You're not going to believe somebody who does drugs? Oh, join Dare.
Join Dare. Operation Water the Country was handed off to William Colby. That was the next director of the CIA. He renamed the operation Very Large Bird. He did this as to not conflict with the PBS show Sesame Street by naming it Operation Big Bird. Obviously. You can't get into copyright battles when you're trying to keep something secret.
And it would be really awkward if they just ended up, murdering Big Bird on accident. Some low-ranking CIA operative gets the mission plans confused, and he just reads, assassinate Big Bird, and he just goes in and ruins Sesame Street.
Calum, you're so naive.
I'm just thinking of the
Big Bird is a drone.
Oh my god!
He's the most advanced drone.
They just didn't want people to associate Big Bird with a big government thing because that would have been too many threads to pull at.
It gets so much deeper.
It's insane. And you guys have just been living this blissful life of ignorance, and I'm sorry that you can't anymore. Alright? But it's time. When the Operation Very Large Bird started, they brought in a bunch of new workers because they needed to get the job done faster. And one of these workers, bless his soul, has a conscience. And we'll talk about him later. The drones themselves have inductive charging that you can see when they perch on telephone wires. You thought that they just did that for fun? Why would they do that? That's not normal, just for them all to be sitting on... No trees are like that, alright? And we've just been sitting here like, oh yeah, no, that's just how it is. That's what we see. They have cameras as eyes, microphones inside them, and you wouldn't be able to tell a real bird from a fake. There are a few real birds in the country. And you want to know what? That makes sense. You can't stop other birds from just flying from Mexico or flying from Canada. You may have thought that you've seen birds. You haven't, alright? Right. You've been trained to think that drones are the real deal. And they're just not. You may have seen one or two birds, again, that are just from a different country. We can't close it off, even though one president tried. You may be wondering why I know all this. Why in the world does Kaegan know about birds not being real? This is something I came across. This is when the movement began. The movement for truth in America. That worker, can't remember his name, that worker came out and told a very vocal anti-war, anti-Vietnam War activist, and just told him everything. It was like, this is what I'm doing now, this is what they've done before. And that activist, bless his soul, went across the country, mainly to colleges.
God bless him.
See, that's what I'm saying. Mainly to colleges, because those are the people who are ready to attack the government. Those are the people who are ready to believe in the truth instead of the lies that have been pumped into their minds.
Keep it educated.
For just their entire lives. This is terrible, alright? This is terrible news, and now you know it. Now you know the truth.
But you're in now, so watch out.
You're in now. They're going to be coming after you. You're going to see a lot more birds in your life. I promise you that. They're going to be looking right at you, and you're going to be like, I wonder. Don't wonder anymore.
You got a pet bird? Maybe reconsider that.
The only reason I know about this is because there are some genuine people out there who want the truth to be spread. Those people have created a website. Everything I know is from them. They've done all the historical research. They know exactly what's going on. If you want to know more, in more detail, you can go to their website, birdsaren'treal.com. Give them all of the credit. This is not me. This is not Kaegan. This is Birds Aren't Real. And if you are struggling with this newfound knowledge, if you think that it's too much...
It's going to be a lot for me to keep living with.
Exactly. You can go. There's a support group for you. Just email support@birdsaren'treal.com. They have shirts and activism gear. And you may be wondering, I can go and buy stuff from this website? Not trustworthy. No, this is to help you. This is to help get the words out faster.
Spread the cause.
If you're wearing a shirt that says birds aren't real, people are going to ask questions, all right? And you may be a target. That might be true. But you're doing this for the right reasons.
We'll be right back.
So I'd like to begin by saying we don't tell each other what we're going to be talking about on this podcast before we bring up this subject. And on that note, here's a CIA-sponsored genocide in a foreign country. Great segue, yeah?
I mean, it's bad, but CIA-sponsored genocide in the country that they operate out of, pretty bad also.
Well, here's your guys' one chance to laugh about it. Mm-hmm. It's called the Banana Massacre.
Oh, no.
No, it's not.
It's called, in history books, the Banana
They're
Massacre.
killing birds and bananas? What is wrong with the CIA? What do they have with things like?
They got too much going on, too many side projects.
Well,
So who knows what else they're killing?
So that's why bananas are yellow. I knew they were supposed to be like purple or something.
So, on the 5th and 6th of December, 1928, in Santa Marta, Colombia, the Banana Massacre took place, where workers for the United Fruit Company made a list of demands and basically tried to unionize around this cause so they could be seen as proper workers.
Okay, real quick, what year was this?
1928.
Oh, 28. Okay.
28. So this was real old. Bunch of plantation workers. They wanted to stop their practice of hiring through subcontractors, mandatory collective insurance, compensation for work accidents, abolition of office stores, weekly wage, improvement of hospital services. Pretty easy demands to meet, right?
Well, I mean, it's not my money, so yeah, give it to them.
Yeah, give it to them. And they faced a lot of diseases on the job from the chemicals that they worked with and a lot of other just dangerous situations that you face working on a plantation.
And it's a banana plantation.
And it's a banana plantation.
So the chemicals they're working with are to help bananas.
It's a banantation.
Yeah. So they handled a lot of chemicals like, weed killers,
like
stuff like
Miracle-Gro.
that. Miracle-Gro.
Yeah.
A worse chemical. But they faced these diseases and they ended up forming a protest, brought in a ton of liberal people in the country of Colombia, and eventually U.S. officials started to take notice because the United Fruit Company was huge and they had been buying up lots of land use rights in South America over this time. So the United States government wanted to help support this large business in a foreign nation and started portraying these very legal protests as communist uprisings in South America.
Their favorite excuse.
Mm-hmm. You see a running trend here. So then they threatened to invade with the Marines if the company's interests weren't secured.
Oh.
As one does.
Quick.
So they couldn't do that because, oh my god, don't send 300 Marines a ton of Marines to a foreign nation.
All of this is
Just get the Colombians to do it themselves.
Yeah, the Colombians will pay for the wall. You know what I'm realizing? Is that this is all just a precursor. This is all just, they're just practicing, just invading other places, getting things out of them.
So then 47 people were killed.
Not 12 billion birds, but still sad.
God damn.
I'm just saying.
300 Colombian soldiers were sent to repel the protests with 47 casualties, possibly more. Number is unconfirmed to this day due to a lot of biased reportings after the fact, especially because the U.S. government wanted to basically say, oh, it was caused by Soviets, or we had a right to do this, and a lot of papers tried to convey it with an American twist on things.
Yeah, do you know what isn't disputed?
What's that?
12 billion birds.
Very disputed to this day. The United Fruit Company, after leading this mission to kill 47 people in a very public area, by the way,
and they're workers?
This wasn't... Yeah, this was workers. Just people protesting for more collective rights. I'm going to read a brief description on what it was like there. The troops set up the machine guns on the roofs of the low buildings at the corners of the main square, closed off the access streets, and after issuing a 5-minute warning that people should leave, opened fire into a dense Sunday crowd of workers and their families, including children. The people had gathered after Sunday Mass to wait for an anticipated address from the governor.
Oh my gosh. Wait. So
Now, if that isn't comic book levels of evil.
they said, like, what was this 5-minute warning like? Was it like, hey, I would get out of here if I were you guys, but, like, it's just me? Is it, hey, we're about to shoot you all, so I'd get out of here pretty quick?
Believed that the announcement didn't say things like, we're going to kill you. It was seen as an attempt at intimidation. Usually, say something like Ferguson. It wasn't expected that the officers would just open fire on a huge crowd. It's used as means of intimidation to disperse a crowd. But these Colombian soldiers, supported by the U.S. government, did decide to go with that.
How were they supported? They get guns or something from us?
So these nations in South America during this time became known as a commonly known phrase today, the Banana Republic. And that is
I buy their
because
clothes a lot.
the United Fruit Company would buy up so much land in these countries and then become such a high source of revenue for these governments that to continue buying up and securing land, they started having to basically have a hand in the politics and workings of these nations. So that's how a banana company goes from a banana company to
a
ruling
company.
a continent. Close.
We're the same, I think.
Yeah. So they ended up encouraging, not to help give these South American workers rights and access to proper health services, and decided to push things down by force.
So the Banana Republic isn't, like, good?
No, not a good thing.
Why would they make a company that has nothing to do with that name? Like, why would they choose that name?
That's a great question.
Is Banana Republic the enemy?
Don't shop at the Banana Republic.
Which means you can't shop at their sister companies too, like Gap and Old Navy, and
I don't anyway.
So later on...
You don't shop at the Navy?
The Navy? I shop at New Navy. I don't shop at that old crap.
I shop at Modern Navy.
Shop at New Air Force.
What?
New Army.
Because it's different branches of the military.
Because it wasn't the U.S. military, that there was no full proof that the United States government had their hands on this. So the United Fruit Company kept existing after this point. The rebellion was pushed down, and it was still, every year there were people, doing memorial services for it, but it didn't lead to any serious long-lasting effects. What did lead to long-lasting effects was the election of the Guatemalan Party of Labor in the 1950s. This led to the United Fruit Company having a bit of a problem because this Labor Party was communist and, claimed communist, and it was democratically elected. The people of Guatemala supported this leader, and they voted for him.
There was nothing they could do.
So the United States government didn't like this and started planning around it, and that's how we got to PB Fortune, which was an attempt to launch a coup d'etat against the Guatemalan government to install a new leader in power.
For those of us who don't know, what is a coup d'etat?
Coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat. A coup d'etat
Quit
is...
saying it like that.
I'm so French. Is an attempt to take a leader out of their position by force, from my understanding. So the CIA, this PB Fortune didn't end up going through as expected, but in 1954, PB Fortune was an attempt to kind of launch propaganda against the party and try and get them to kind of fall apart. But in 1954, Dwight D. Eisenhower,
Oh my god.
the man's back at it
Everything's
again,
connected.
helped support the CIA arming 480 men to launch a coup d'etat on the democratically elected leader.
Obviously, he's okay with the CIA doing whatever they want.
Yeah. PB Fortune was a lot of them just trying to isolate Guatemala on an international level. trying to make sure that they weren't getting imports and able to export products at a
so they were
reasonable
trying-
rate while they had this leader in power.
So they were trying to keep surveillance on the imports and exports.
You could say that.
You could say that because it's the truth. Speaking of the truth, birds aren't real.
So,
Jay, did you ever say whether or not believe in the birds outside the window?
I want you to bring me a bird in half
Uh-huh.
and have robotic parts hanging
You
out of
think
it.
that I would make it to your house if I had proof? They're killing
got you.
people left and right,
got
man.
you there, Jay.
Jeez.
So there was a lot of psychological warfare during this time launched by the CIA towards Guatemalans, and in particular, the local military, which eventually led to when these 480 men came for the coup, the local military didn't fight back out of the intimidation that had been put on them up to this point. This led to huge amounts of criticism against the U.S. as they just installed a military tyrant as a leader.
And also,
And completely was against what America tends to try to stand for, democracy.
well, I mean, you say democracy, and then they're sitting there taking away our freedoms all the time by surveilling us. It's like, do we have the right to anything anymore?
America, your move.
America, explain.
Explain.
What accent is that?
I am confusion. So then, after, PB whatever, PB
S.
Fortune,
Oh.
and Peanut Butter Success, and they launched Peanut Butter History. I don't think PB is what it stands. It stands for peanut butter, but I'm gonna go with it.
Okay.
So Peanut Butter History was the United States' attempt to justify what happened in Guatemala. How do you think they justified it?
It is easier to catch
By
communists.
blaming the communists, of course. It was Soviet Russia.
How does he do it?
It was. They attempted to point out that there was Soviet interference in the democratic election.
Jeez.
Nobody bought that. It was a huge failure for the most obvious reasons.
Oh my gosh. They
What-
just think they can, communism is a catch-all for do whatever you want. Oh, go ahead and take over a country. Oh, make clothes with the Banana Republic sign on them. Oh, kill all the birds and replace
Shop
them
at
with
Route
drones.
21 instead, boys and girls.
I worked at Route 21 for 4 hours.
Yeah?
Yep.
That's
What?
a story for another time.
I did, yeah.
So, what this horrible incident ended up leading to was 4 decades of civil war in Guatemala.
Oh my gosh. Also, maybe it was Forever 21. Is that a thing?
I just want you to know, if a Guatemalan ever listens to this podcast, they're going to be like, wow, these guys are assholes.
Whoa. The CIA is bad. We all agree.
We're all on the same page here, dude. So it led to 4 decades of civil war in Guatemala, of leaders left and right being pushed into power and out of power. And what this ended up leading to with an American-backed leader was the Maya Holocaust.
Whoa, I thought it was
Otherwise
banana.
called... This is
Jeez.
otherwise called the Silent Holocaust, which led to 166,000, up to that number, Maya dead or disappeared during this period,
Now,
that were a minority group in Guatemala that were discriminated against. The entire context of these 166,000 and the 4 decades of civil war are all led to the United States and their backing of the United Fruit Company. Because the Communist Labor Party that was put in power was heavily in favor of workers' rights and heavily against companies as big as the United Fruit Company taking advantage of these Southern American countries.
it is insane that something called the United Fruit Company is in any way related to a silent Holocaust.
You want to feel so much worse?
I mean...
Today, the United Fruit Company
Uh-huh.
is still around. Do you know what they're called?
Banana Republic. Oh my gosh.
Chiquita Banana.
The-
They rebranded, renamed themselves after all the controversy they went through, and today are known as Chiquita Banana.
Huh. That's
So feel a little bad next time you buy that banana with the nice, lady
nice
with the fruit
Chiquita
hat on
banana.
it.
Dole Gang?
Okay.
I don't eat bananas.
So, quick shout out to
random turn off facts.
quick shout out to Alejandra Castillo of the Center for Legal Action on Human Rights down in South America. She's doing great work right now, trying to get some of the criminals of the Guatemalan government who helped sponsor these killings brought to justice, and helping revive recognition of some of these people that passed away, those discriminated against, and is also speaking out against military-sponsored holidays that glorify what happened in the past. So, thank you to her, and don't eat Chiquita. It's gross and bad and smelly. I can't wait for when we cover 9/11 next.
I will never, ever talk about that in my life. I just want to say that jet fuel does not melt steel.
Yeah! Hit it!
We'll be right back. Okay, so my topic today are the 9 recorded deaths at Disneyland.
God damn it!
What is going on?
Hit me.
Okay, so now, I want to preface this by saying, my heart or condolences go out to the families involved and all that stuff. Of course, it's the same thing with the birds aren't real. Whoever the hell that
In
offended.
the Guatemalan genocide.
All of the birds.
For the love of God, the Guatemalan genocide.
Yeah. No, that's terrible.
And of course.
Also, what is terrible? The 12 billion innocent birds. How many birds do you think you're worth, Jay?
I think I'd be worth at least.
Kaegan,
3
birds
years.
are real.
What?
Birds are real.
You know they're not.
Birds.
I just told.
They got to him. Okay, so this first death happened in May 1964, and this is just, from my understanding, this all happened at Disneyland in California.
Happiest place on
The
earth.
happiest place on earth.
No
I was
genocide
just
there.
there.
God,
Genocide of churros.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So good. I had one time I went to senior night there, and I'll tell you what story got back to my mom, who works at the school that I went to. She was like, "Kaegan, I heard something interesting about your trip," and I was like, "Oh yeah, what is that?" And she was like, "A bunch of students told me you ate like 15 churros, started drinking, passed out, and then and then were a zombie for the rest of the time." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And she was like, "Yeah, they said you were drugged out after eating just your weight in churros." And I was like, "Okay."
Jay, this definitely confirms the point that we had of Kaegan definitely being able to get drunk off a Mountain Dew.
Okay,
or at least experience this.
Please hold, because you're
gonna
gonna
be
No, you hold. I want to hear.
That's gonna be our
about
50th episode special.
Kaegan gets drunk on Mountain Dew. I want to hear about the deaths at Disneyland.
Wait, you didn't even hear about the reality of the situation of what actually happened, since that didn't happen. Is I had 1.5 churros, got motion sick, and I'll be honest with you, I fell asleep across the laps of 3 of my friends, and I did move, and I was
1.5 churros, 15 churros. It's like a unit of 10 off.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, but I was told that I moved out of the park. I don't remember moving from the bench, and I came back into consciousness leaving the park.
Sugar does horrible things to him.
Okay, so what you're saying is there are 10 deaths at Disneyland.
Okay.
One of them revived.
Kagan's pride.
Came back to life.
All right. May 1964. Should I say the names? This is from Snopes.com.
Probably.
Maybe we
leave
won't
them
say the names.
off.
How about we do, what's your favorite TV show?
What?
What's your favorite TV show?
Mr. Robot.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
SpongeBob SquarePants. There are at least 9 characters in SpongeBob SquarePants. Use characters' names for this.
So SpongeBob hung himself off of Space Mountain.
Okay, you know what? I could just say that this was a man.
Nope, dudes.
No SpongeBob names.
We've committed. We're bad people, for sure.
All right, so...
we promise we're better than this, but, it's just when you talk about this stuff, it's
Really, because we're really not acting like
you gotta, you
Gary
can't,
the Snail.
Gary the Snail.
A 15-year-old Long Beach resident. was killed when he tried to stand. This is May 1964.
He was killed when ages anymore.
Say him every time. Continue.
Was killed when he tried to stand up on the Matterhorn bobsleds.
Gary, no.
Gary foolishly unbuckled his seatbelt and attempted to stand up as their bobs.
This website said Gary foolishly decided to
They
unbuckle.
really had to do him like that?
This is 1964. They didn't give a
Maybe,
shit.
yeah, maybe
They didn't give a poop.
maybe we're not the bad people. Maybe the world is just bad.
Foolishly unbuckled his seatbelt and attempted to stand up as their bobsled neared the peak of the mountain.
What are you doing?
Please come home, 'cause I miss you, Gary.
I have 8 more to get.
Oh, so sad.
Okay, so he lost his balance and was thrown from the sled to the track below, fracturing his skull and ribs and causing internal injuries. He died 3 days later. Yeah, you guys like this. You guys love this idea of the SpongeBob man snapping.
Oh my god.
All right, Plankton, a 19-year-old North Ridge resident, was killed when he attempted to sneak into Disneyland along the monorail track. What name did I give him? Plankton. Plankton scaled the park's 16-foot-high outer fence on grad night and climbed onto the monorail track, intending to jump or climb down once inside the park.
When was this?
This is 1966.
Man, they've had grad night for a long time.
Classic Plankton.
Do you think this is just going to happen to a line with, oh, that was the night I had...
All those same nights that I
I
had
remember
the
hearing
churros.
some about it, but I was too passed out on churros. Let's see. Plankton ignored a security guard's shouted warnings of an approaching monorail train and failed to leap clear of the track. He finally climbed down onto a fiberglass canopy beneath the track, but the clearance wasn't enough. The oncoming train struck and killed him. Dragging his body 30 to 40 feet down the track.
Jeez.
Snopes. Chill.
Who even goes on that monorail?
I know, I keep seeing it.
Just get rid of the whole thing.
Okay, so Patrick Starr, a 17-year-old Hawthorne resident,
I don't like the age.
was killed when he disregarded safety instructions and exited his people mover car as the ride. Oh,
Excuse me.
this is
People
1967.
mover car?
So
Aren't all cars people mover cars?
interestingly enough, a lot of these deaths happened like within the first 8 years or so.
Well, I imagine. I imagine they're working out the kinks.
God.
What about him?
He slipped as he was
Look
jumping
out for SpongeBob and Friends.
He slipped as he was jumping from car to car and was crushed to death beneath the wheels of oncoming cars. Yikes. So 1973.
Yeah.
The hash-slinging slasher.
No.
No.
Shit.
Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs, Eugene Krabs, an 18-year-old Brooklyn resident, drowned trying to swim across the rivers of America. The more I'm going through this, the more I feel like this is a little...
There's no really...
out of touch.
This is just very morbid. There's not much of a story here. It's just here, let me read an obituary.
This is honestly, people need to know. That's what this episode is called. People need to know.
This is called 3 lawsuits waiting to happen.
Separate?
Yeah,
It's one episode.
yeah, 3 lawsuits. He's getting Disney. I'm getting Chiquita Bananas, and you're getting
The CIA.
CIA.
They won't sue me. They'll kill me.
So let's continue.
Yeah. So you're talking about Eugene.
Can't leave him wondering the rest.
Him and his brother managed to stay on Tom Sawyer Island past its dusk closing time by climbing the fence separating the islands from the burning settlers' cabin. When they decided to leave the island a few hours later, they chose to swim across the river rather than call attention to their rule breaking by appealing to cast members for help. Because the younger brother did not know how to swim,
You're lying.
Mr. Krabs had to carry him on his back as he swam ashore. He went down halfway across the river. The younger boy remained afloat by dog paddling until a ride operator hauled him aboard the boat. But Mr. Krabs was nowhere to be found. His body was not located by searchers until the next morning. I think I'm going to stop on this next one
Not bad.
Just because this is 1980, so this is now 40 years ago.
Now,
Okay.
people are still... Well, we'll figure it out. Go ahead.
I feel like the more recent I get, maybe the more sore of a subject it tends to become.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
why
we're
we
trying
made
to
jokes during the
disconnect,
1924 Banana Massacre.
We didn't make jokes.
Yeah, all seriousness.
Just like the...
So tell us about
In 1980,
Mrs. Puff.
Larry the
SpongeBob,
Lobster.
Mrs. Puff. Well, none of them women so far.
Uh-uh.
Interestingly enough,
I would have gotten Sandy Cheeks before we got Mrs. Puff.
SpongeBob, a recent San Diego high school graduate,
Careful, SpongeBob.
was killed on the People Mover.
Careful, SpongeBob.
The People Mover. Very similar to...
The car
Person
people mover.
The person mover.
it was another grad night.
Oh.
So maybe this leads to a discussion of grad nights.
Okay, if I'm honest, people did a lot of drugs on grad night. At
Oh,
Disneyland.
no.
It was insane.
Really?
Oh my god.
How'd they get them in?
I don't know. I didn't do them. I was just on churros. Dude.
Happiest place on earth, dude.
So
All of them
Jay-
after that are kind of a little more recent, yeah.
I would say there was one I actually remember,
Yeah.
and it's actually the most recent one.
Okay, but real quick, what happened to SpongeBob?
Wait, it was another People Mover.
So he was just ran over.
Yeah, again.
Those
Oh,
damn people movers.
all right. So
This one, I can give you information about the most recent one because I actually have a personal, not connection, but personal memory of it.
okay, should this guy be the oh my leg guy?
Why are you like this?
A terrible person? I'm still trying to figure it out, man. I'm trying to disassociate myself. I think that's what it is.
You know
Hide
what?
behind humor.
Yeah.
You know, I can agree with that too. This guy, my leg guy. So
Oh,
in
my
2003. And he died. Have you guys been to Disneyland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ride. Kaegan, are you sure you've been? I have heard no such thing before. There's a ride called Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Okay.
And it's the one that's like a train and it goes around, and it's like a roller coaster. And the front part of it separated and crushed the guy.
God, that's...
It's just...
That one's
as it's
so
gone.
much scarier than the rest because the rest were just people acting kind of, not the smartest
Yeah,
situation.
this one was definitely-
stepping where they shouldn't be, but that one's just...
This one's definitely not his fault at all. Like, it was just
Yeah.
going through a tunnel, and he just got crushed, and it was really sad. I have a cousin, still alive, and he worked at Disneyland during this, like, on this day. And he was just a normal, like, sweep the trash up kind of person. He was in high school and stuff like that, so... and he was there on that day, and he said it was the rest of the day, because they kept the park open, I think. And he said just the rest of the day was just sad. Like, there was no good vibes to be had.
I'd
Like,
imagine.
people were just going on the rides.
Yeah.
To get their
Just the-
money's
Did
worth
the
at that point.
regular people go on the ride? Like, did they know what was going on? Because I imagine there wasn't an announcement over the speakers like, hey, a man
Kid
just
died.
died.
Yeah.
Or kid.
He was old. Not old, but he was 22.
A man died.
He was right around our age, whatever our age is.
Yeah, whatever that might be.
There's I feel like there's definitely this kind of deep set fear in everybody of that happening to them on rides. So there's another deep set interest of everybody whenever a morbid story like that kind of comes out. Everybody likes, there's such a prevalence of, dark, haunted Disney stories on the internet. Like, there's one about, somebody hanging themselves in one of the
It's a Small
musical
World.
rides. Yeah, exactly. I've heard about
There's a
that.
picture of that online, too, if you guys ever want to check it out.
Is
So-
it
Yeah.
real?
I don't
They don't
believe
know. Some people think it's a prop.
It's
Oh.
probably
But still...
fake.
So, some people think that It's a Small World characters sometimes come to life. That they'll find them in different spots and see them blink even after the ride has been shut off.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I believe
Oh, my cousin, the guy who had had to sweep.
Yeah.
He said he had to sweep around the Haunted Mansion one time, and it was still going, and no one was on the ride. And so they just had the ghosts, like the ghost projections, like walking around, and you had to like sweep near them. And so you would go up and then sweep it and like skedaddle.
But it does, like, it's terrifying. That last one, like, really resonates with me. And it reminded me of this story of a 10-year-old. And this was just a few years ago. I think it was like 2015, 2016. He went on a water slide at a park and was decapitated on it.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Completely severed.
that reminds me of a comedian story where he read something or saw something online about a woman who broke her leg on a ride.
Yeah.
Like, completely shattered it. Like,
Yeah.
bones were, like, pieces. And she was in, like, a full leg cast for, like a long time. And it was because her leg went low enough on this ride, and it was one of the ones where you're attached at the top, not the bottom.
Yeah.
And so she kicked a man's head off.
Oh, I think
What?
I've heard of something like
Yeah.
that.
I don't know if that was, like, him making jokes or whatever, but, like, apparently her leg was hanging low enough that it made contact with someone's head. And she punted it across the park.
No.
There's no way that's true, though, right?
I don't know.
How fast can you go to really knock a person's head off? I can understand you break someone's head, like you kill someone. You can kick them hard enough, obviously. Like you see, it's happened in like combat sports and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There, you kill them, but how hard do you have to hit someone
To remove it from the body.
their body?
I mean, Daniel Tosh talks about it. I can't imagine he would lie.
No.
Good old upstanding
Truthful
Mr.
man,
Tosh, yeah.
I've never come across.
Yep.
Well, if the CIA wasn't tracking me before this podcast for talking about birds not being real, they are now for looking up how hard is it to kick a head off a body.
Oh, jeez.
Might have put me on some lists.
How hard is it, though?
Is it possible to punch/kick someone's head off their body? Austin Lewis on Quora says, well, it is certainly possible. What would it take? Someone like a 160-pound person jumping off a car going 80 miles per hour and drop kicking a head.
That's a ride, dude.
That's a ride. That's a ride right there.
Confirmed. Did happen.
Yeah. Oh, so the man was like off the ride. And
Yeah,
like, the
he was like spectator.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how can they build a ride
That goes that low?
that
I'm
goes
be
that
real.
low?
He apparently went in to a place he wasn't supposed to get a hat. That he
Oh,
had
that makes sense
dropped on
because
the
I know
same
that some
ride.
rides at like Six Flags, I think they go low towards like water, and I don't think they make it so your feet can touch the water, but I think
Yeah.
it's like
Oh, God. If
They
you're
make
going
it-
too fast, that water is going to feel like cement. If you actually like hit it.
But I think the thing I want to take away is that, you know, the theme park rides, they're fun because they feel like they're dangerous, but
Yeah.
they're not. Like, they're supposed to not be.
Yeah.
You go on a roller coaster, you go on a loop-de-loop. Like, you feel like you're scared to death, like you're going to fall off the ride, but you don't, and you're safe, and you're buckled in. And I think that's the way Disneyland and all these other big theme parks are supposed to make you feel. That the rides you're not gonna die, but that you can feel this thrill and exhilaration. And so to hear stories about people who have died,
Adds to that.
it kind of
feeling.
it might add to that feeling, and it just kind of goes against the logic of wanting to.
Feel safe, but
Yeah.
threatened at the same time. Yeah, but like you're trusting these engineers to make a good ride, just like you're trusting engineers every time you cross a bridge. You know, plenty of bridges have given away over the last century, and yet we still cross them. We depend on them. So I guess that differentiates them a little bit from the rides, but...
Yeah, but us specifically are invincible. My real question is, I asked what your favorite TV show is, and you said SpongeBob SquarePants, I just realized. Your favorite TV show is SpongeBob SquarePants?
Here, listen,
Is it the intense writing? Is it the awesome season
I think it's the
plots?
great character development over the course of the seasons.
I think if I had more time to think about it, I could come up with some more shows. But if I'm lying on my deathbed,
Mm-hmm. And you are.
and they said, I probably am. I think I have a red
It's 20
laser
something, you
pointing
can't
at my
die.
forehead.
I have a plan, and by the time this podcast is out, send Jay your regards.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my god.
Why do you?
Valentine's
If I was on my
genocide
deathbed
episode.
and they said you can watch the entirety of a show until you die,
Yeah.
I would say, okay, SpongeBob, but just seasons 1 through 3.
Okay, so
After-
you are sticking with SpongeBob.
Guys, what did you take away from today?
Oh yeah. We did not check up about breathing manually that entire time.
We were a good distraction for them then.
Interesting. So.
You still breathing manually?
What did I say? The truth is out.
Maybe if you're still breathing a little manually, you can go listen to some of our other podcasts. Give it another listen. Maybe play this one a few times on repeat. We're pretty entertaining people.
What you need to take away from this is that things aren't always as they seem. Banana Republic doesn't just sell clothes. Disneyland maybe isn't the happiest place on earth. And birds definitely aren't real.
They're so real.
They're not real. They're not real, and goodbye.